just wanted to make a short video in our anchor series about how to get something off that you might have hooked by accident with your anchor. Now this can happen quite often, more often than you think, especially like us when we're anchoring out every night. We actually hooked a cable in a harbour last week. We've had, it's usually actually people's anchor chains. Someone's crossed an anchor, or just as you go out, just picking an anchor up, especially if you're stern tying and things like that and you're in quite close proximity. It happened to us in Turkey as well, and it's happened to us in places where it's been quite difficult to get off, and there's a lot of fiddling around, going around to try and lift it off with a dinghy, and that can get quite dangerous. So I wanted to just show you this because this is something that I bought after occasions like that where it hasn't gone well, and this makes life a lot easier, as you'll see from this video. If you find yourself in this position and you lift an anchor to find you're snagged on something like a chain or a cable, it can be very hard to get it off. The hook allows you to do it easily and safely. So let's go through how that works, and if you haven't got the right gear, how that might become a bit of a problem. Now you might think that it's quite an easy thing. If you've got something over the top of your anchor, you just get the boat hook out, lift it off, job done. Well, most of the time it really is impossible to do that, because if you've picked up a chain or a piece of cable, then you've got the whole length of that all the way down to the seafloor and you don't know what it's connected to. It's a lot of weight, it's a lot of strain. The boat will be drifting back against that as well. So there can be an awful lot of tension on the thing that's stuck to your anchor. And it certainly won't be, in 99% of the cases, a case of something you can lift off with your boat hook. So as you can see, we're in a bit of an industrial harbour here, and we've managed to pick up a big thick cable. So that's a good occasion to use the Ultra Trip hook. Got the line spliced on. I've got a halyard on the other side. Judy is on the end of the halyard. Hello. So just give that a pull when I ask you. We'll just get this round it. So we're pulling this back quite hard against us. So Judy's just going to move the boat forward a little bit to give me a bit of slack before I drop it off. Okay, pull. That's it. And that's it. We can lift it off. Oh. And once it's lifted off, I just pull on the blue one. And that's it. It's released. Done. We're off. All right, better drive the boat.
Well done.
So that's good, because it's difficult to get those things off, you know, without that hook. So the anchor's there now. I can just bring it the rest of the way up. Job done. So you can see I have this blue trip line just permanently attached. It's just spliced on there. It's a couple of meters long. Just needs to be long enough for most things to get down to the water. I use a halyard on the main lifting eye here. I use the one for the spinnaker pole normally, because it's halfway up the mast. It's sort of pulling backwards a bit as well, which helps to sort of drag whatever you've snagged off of the anchor. So that works quite well, and obviously you can winch it with that as well if need be. But if you're on a motorboat, obviously you haven't got that option. So it might be a good idea to permanently attach a rope as well to the lifting eye here, something fairly strong and maybe a little bit longer, because you might want to tie that off on a cleat somewhere. So let's go through step by step with the graphic what we're doing here. By the time the anchor hits the surface, the boat will probably be drifting back in wind or current, and there will be increasing tension on the cable. So you'll notice I asked Judy to drive the boat forward to try to ease that up. Then lower the hook just to get it under the cable, then either winch it up and off, or tie it off and drop the anchor to release it, or a combination of both, and the cable will then be clear of the anchor. The red lifting rod has to be pretty strong, as it's now supporting the weight of whatever you've hooked. But the clever thing about the hook is that no matter how much weight is on it, pulling the blue line will cantilever it around, so the cable will just drop off, and you can get the anchor safely back on board. So it really does make what could be quite a difficult situation much easier. One last thing though, if you've hooked something that's so heavy you can't get it up to the surface, it does happen, especially if you haven't got a very strong windlass, then I mean you can do this underwater, as long as you can see what you're doing, or you can dive down and actually get something under there. As long as you can lift whatever it is off the seabed, you can have this all the way down, just attach a longer line, get it down, lift it off. It does the same job underwater. I hope you found this useful.